there, chatters. It's Nat.
And I'm Kat, and welcome to the Crime Chat. I am your forensic femme fatale. Natalie is your true crimatic connoisseur.
We're
Do they say
just,
connoisseur different in
I don't
Canada?
know. You know what? I think in Canada, they definitely pronounce the O and U different. So it's like
Yeah,
host instead of house,
host.
right? Or like
We
out
were
instead of
yeah,
out. Eh?
a true crime addict connoisseur.
We're just two normal girls who obsess about dark crimes, evil minds, and occasionally the unknown.
And are we normal? I don't know. But
Yeah.
here's your disclaimer, chatters. The following Crime Chat contains adult content, and it will contain descriptions of violent and heartbreaking scenarios today. So your listener discretion is advised.
Okay. Well, crime chat as usual. So you've been warned. But before we get into today's crime chat, Kat, what have you done?
Okay, you've
Hmm.
got to watch this movie. It's called My
Okay.
Best Friend's Exorcism.
Sounds great. That's like us.
I know.
I would call a priest on you.
I,
Absolutely.
I would call a priest on you too. Or the gym rat Christian, whatever you want to call it, person that actually tries to do
Right.
the
May the
exorcism.
may the
It's
power of Christ compel you, Kat.
so it takes place in the 80s, which one, love.
Okay.
Two, it has a bit of humor with the horror. Chris picked it. Mind blown. Like,
Right.
okay.
He's not
We
a horror
watched it.
guy. He doesn't like horror.
No, but he picked it. And I was like, let's watch it. And it was late. It was at
Right.
night. And he's like, oh my God, I'm not going to sleep. But it was perfect because it was entertaining
Mm-hmm.
and it had a really good story to it. I highly recommend it. It did not get good reviews, but you know me in movies.
Yeah.
I'm easy to please.
Mm-hmm.
So I recommend it actually. I think you can find it. Where do we watch it? On Prime, I think. Yeah.
Okay. Check
I
that out.
recommend it. Then the other movie that we watched was Jackpot.
Never heard of it.
It's on Netflix.
What
So
is it
it
about?
just came out.
Mm-hmm.
It stars Aquafina. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's her go-to name.
I love her. She's so funny.
She's great. Yeah. It had a very quick cameo of what's his name? Sean William Scott.
Who is
Think
that?
of Stifler's mom from American Pie.
Oh, okay.
He's been in tons of movies. Like you would recognize him if you saw him. So Aquafina, John Cena is in it.
Mm-hmm.
He plays the protagonist's buddy.
Okay.
And it's amazing. It was funny.
Right.
Obviously, with Aquafina in it, it's going to be hilarious.
Yeah.
But basically, she was a child actress, left LA, went to Michigan to take care of her very sick mom. Her mom passed away. She decided to move back to LA to kind of continue her life, make her mom proud or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the year 2030. So it kind of jumps ahead a little bit.
Okay.
And there's something called a jackpot. It goes a little bit off of The Purge, where if somebody wins the jackpot, which is a lottery, I think in this one she was like highest lottery winner to date. It was like 3 point something billion dollars. So if you win the lottery, the public has 24 hours to kill you, and you can claim the money. So it's like The Purge, like you wouldn't get charged with murder or whatever.
Right.
So Sean William Scott in the beginning. Apparently he won the lottery, but he ends up getting killed. That's why I saw like, got a pseudo cameo appearance. Basically, it's about just like survival. But it's hilarious because it's got like a funny twist on it. And John Cena is somebody who basically is like the person that you would hire to protect you to get you to sundown so you survive. And he would take 10% of the money as like his fee if you survive.
Okay.
So they partner up. Hilarious.
So he's like of course he's got to play a badass. Like he's got to play.
God,
yes. Yeah.
And I don't know why. I mean, John Cena is a pretty attractive guy, but I don't know why in this movie, it was part of the script that she said, you look like an ear face. And I was like, oh my God, I can't unsee that now.
What is that? What do you mean an ear face? Like he's got big ears?
His face looks like an ear. Like
what?
Watch the movie, okay? Because it's funny.
Okay.
It's got a lot of action, survival. There's good story, like heartfelt story in the end of it. So no, it's a really good movie. We really enjoyed it. I was like, me, I'm like, sometimes I'm like, give me death, give me horror, and I'm happy.
Right.
This had just enough death to keep me satisfied because they were trying to kill her. And it was interesting to see how like she survived, and there's the action scenes are phenomenal.
Mm.
And of course, she doesn't realize that she actually won. And because it's 2030,
Mm-hmm.
there's this new technology, and everybody who played the lotto gets a card, and it's like a virtual picture of the person who won, which gives the people indications of who to kill so they can get their jackpot.
Oh, wow.
I recommend it.
Yeah.
So those are my 2 recommendations. On my list tonight is season 4, Only Murders in the Building.
Wait a minute. I haven't even seen season 3 yet.
Oh, yeah,
I
I
am
know.
so far behind. Okay. Is it just started?
4
Is it
picks up.
just
It's super interesting. Like,
Yeah.
it just started, and I think Hulu is releasing new episodes on Tuesday, so there's probably a couple of episodes out
Okay.
that I am going to watch tonight. Yay.
Okay.
Oh, and before I go on, it is my older son's birthday today. So
Happy birthday.
happy birthday, Quentin.
Yes.
I love you. He's 26.
Yes. Quentin, we know him because he helped us with the crime chat early on.
He did. He was the one that recommended we do a podcast.
Yes.
I linked up with Natalie and I said, hey, my son said we should do a podcast. And he helped us out like with the sound and
Yep.
everything. So yeah. So happy birthday,
birthday.
sweetheart.
Yes. Aw.
I just talked to him a little bit ago. I told him I would shout his name out. And he's like, aw. So, okay, that's all of my excitement. What about you?
I've been following Wade Wilson, and as you know, like Kat, we both know that we were going to do this case, the Deadpool killer.
Yeah.
And Bailey Sarian got to it before us, so we're just going to leave that there.
She had gotten requested, like a lot of people requesting her to do that story.
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
you know, like it's a good story. I mean, it's not a good story. It's a dark story.
Yes. I did not realize how close it took place to you and to where I am from. Like, literally, I knew the restaurant, the Buddha restaurant.
Oh, really?
In Fort Myers. Yes. I know exactly where that is.
Oh, shit. Wow. Okay. Well, okay. So, I mean, a lot of things happen in Florida, so I'm kind of numb to it at this point. But, like, what really, like, disturbs me is the amount of women that are sexualizing this man. There is a fan group that is just like, he's so hot, he's this is like a new age Ted Bundy obsession, and I don't get it. Like, I don't get it. His face is so tatted up.
Well, it is now. I think when he was originally arrested, he didn't everything, like, he had a lot of tattoos but nothing on his face, but now he's got like,
oh my god,
the Joker like smile and ha 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 on his face, and it's crazy.
But the amount of women that are just swooning over him is disturbing. It's like, ladies, come on. Like, we need to do better. Like, we need to do better than idolizing or sexualizing this man that murdered 2 of our fellow girls. Like, come on, let's do better. So,
and one was a random.
Yeah.
Like, no other reason than he was on this like anger spree just because. Like, I don't get better idols.
Yes, get better idols. So with that said, so the other case that I've been following, I don't know if you heard of it, the Long Island murder that happened. Oh.
Yeah, well, you told me, like, hey, have you heard of it? And I hadn't. So tell me.
Okay, so I think I sent you like the link at the time when it was happening, or when it was like being announced on the news, like, oh my god, these murders. So apparently a lady who lived with her adult son, and her son was like maybe late 50s, early 60s. She passed away, and the siblings, and there were 5 siblings that came to the house to kind of like obviously mourn their mother and deal with like the funeral and all this stuff. And then also the big elephant in the room, like, we need to figure out what's going to happen with the house. Like, you know, not that they were making any decision, and I'm sure that they were taking into account that the brother was living there. Like, I'm sure they wouldn't put him on the street. And I actually have friends that have dealt with the situation. It's not gonna like, how evil do you have to be as a sibling to do that to somebody else? So so they were trying to figure out, like, actually, they didn't even get to that point. So from what we can tell, because there's no witnesses in the crime, everybody's dead. But like, from what we can tell, that nobody related to the siblings said that they had wind of them going into that house trying to either persuade him to leave or to figure out the will in any way. They were just going there because their mother had just died 3 days earlier.
Right.
And they were trying to figure out, like they were coping. They were trying to go through her belongings, making sure that her will was being,
It's almost nostalgic when you do that too, right? Like you see old things and it brings up old memories and you cry, you laugh,
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's hard, especially, and she had daughters, and girls are really into that. Like, oh my God, that's Mommy's ring. I need to have it. And so he took a shotgun. He killed everybody inside the house when they came to visit.
He killed all his siblings.
All of them. 3 days after Mom's funeral. And then he walked outside onto the front lawn and he shot himself. The entire family is dead. The entire family is wiped out.
Wow.
How disturbing is that? Like, that just, I'm sitting there going, and this was in Long Island. Oh my God.
I mean, and he's got issues. He's had issues for years if it comes down to that. You know what I mean? Yeah. Ugh, that poor family.
I know.
I mean, what's left of them? I mean, it's extended family, I guess now, but somebody they're related to somebody who now has to deal with it all.
Their kids, probably.
Oh,
their extended family.
If the siblings were in their like 50s and 60s, I'm sure they have kids. Yeah,
it's just heartbreaking.
Horrible.
But I'm following that case pretty closely.
Okay.
Other than that. You're gonna laugh at me. So I got hooked on Stream, which is a gaming platform, because there was a game that my friends said that I would be interested in. I'm like, all right, let me check it out. And I'm not really, like, I've gamed in the past. Like, I'm a big PlayStation girl. Like, I've had the whole system, and I always update it.
Yeah.
But I've never streamed games, and apparently there's, like, a whole subsector of different companies that only do streaming games. And there's this one company, I think it's called SHN.
Shit?
No, it's Shin or something. I don't know. Not shit.
Oh, shit.
And they only do haunted house games.
Ooh.
I am like obsessed with like researching this company and all the games that they offer. So I'm going to, by the next time we speak, I am going to try to play a game. And it's super realistic game. So this should be good. Turn all the lights out in my house and just play a game. Freak myself out.
Speaking of haunted.
Yeah.
So Stanley is what I've named my ghost. He's been quiet for a while.
Okay.
However, last week, maybe the week before, I was sitting in my office. It was like 11:30 in the morning. It was almost noon, so middle of the day.
Right.
And I told Chris about it, and he's like, "You're hallucinating." And I was like, "No, I'm not." Now, granted, this class that I last taught was very rough on me, and I didn't get a whole lot of sleep.
Right.
But
yeah,
I know what I heard.
What are you saying? You're hysterical? Are you a hysterical cat?
I'm not a hysterical cat. I've slept since then.
Okay.
But there was many a nights that I didn't sleep because it was just very draining on me.
Right.
Anyway, so Chris was at work, and it was something that he says, like a term that he says, and I heard it down the hall. The words are not coming to me right now.
Right.
But it was obvious that it came from in the house. So I go down the hallway, garage is shut, front door shut. Back door was open for Biscuit, looked out. Nothing. And we have those systems on our doors. So if the garage door, the back door, or the front door open, it lets you know. Nothing like that. And I was like, I told Chris, I was like, I know what I heard. And it sounded like something, it was like a phrase or something that he kind of normally says. And for whatever reason, it's escaping me right now. But I was like, he'd been quiet for a while, but Stanley came back and made his presence known. And it's mum's the word right now.
Really?
So, yeah.
And he mimicked Chris.
Yes. I thought it was him. I thought it was Chris.
That is freaky.
And I knew he wasn't here because he was at work.
That is freaky. Okay. Wow.
Yeah. So, good on you, Stanley. You know the family.
Stan the man. Okay, you sure it's a man? Are we sure it's a man?
I don't know.
Oh, boy.
I'm just going with Stanley.
It's a cute name. I like the name.
Yeah. I may use the name and or circumstances surrounding this for a future creative writing project.
Character in your book?
Yes.
That would be cool.
So,
all right.
The last story that I just did for my class that I'm in right now is a supernatural.
Oh, really?
It is.
Is
Not
this
based on Stanley.
okay? Oh my God.
Yes. I sent it to you.
Okay, yes. I want to read it. I love Supernatural. I am obsessed with that stuff.
So it's a detective, and she's trying to figure out how she died.
Oh,
So
she's her own death?
she's trying to figure out her own death. Yeah.
Okay,
Who killed
love
her
it.
and why? And she's stuck in purgatory.
Oh my God, you've got to give me at least a blurb, a page, something.
You have 22 pages of it.
Awesome. All right.
So it's a short story that I had to do for my class. It's supposed to be 15 to 20 pages. I went to 22 because I didn't want it to seem incomplete or like cut short.
Right. Kat's motto, why do when you can outdo?
Why hit the standard? Go
Right.
above. Although I did tell the professor, I was like, I'm sorry I went over. Like, my bad. I just didn't want it to sound rushed at the end.
Right.
I wanted it to have like a holistic perspective, beginning, middle, and end.
Yeah.
It's a short story. I've never really written a short story before. Usually I'm like novel length.
Right.
So it was a little bit of a challenge for me, but
Okay.
I think you'll like it.
All right. Oh my God.
And so part of the class too is we send it to a publisher.
Oh, really?
That's part of our curriculum is to send it to a publisher. I'm working on a letter right now for this week's assignment.
Right.
And it's a draft letter, but by the end, part of it is to send it to a publisher. And, if I get published, we'll see.
You got to celebrate.
I think I probably still have to work, tweak a little bit. I am by no means, I'm still a novice, I guess, is what I'm saying. I'm a novice novelist.
That's okay. You know who else was a novice novelist?
Who?
Rowland's. What's her name? The girl that did Harry Potter.
Oh, J.K. Rowling.
Yeah, she's she wasn't a writer. She wrote her stuff on a napkin.
Everybody starts somewhere.
Right.
And this is where I'm starting. Chatters, follow me.
Yes. Yes.
Follow
absolutely.
My journey.
Absolutely. Yeah. I can't wait to read it.
Anyway.
Can't wait. Okay, cool.
Yes.
So is today a chatter request?
Today is a chatter request. It is from my brother, Joshua.
Hi, Joshua.
Yeah. Hi, Joshua. He's a big turd and pain in the ass, but I love him to pieces. Turd is our affectionate name for each other.
Aw.
You're such a turd. But it's because we've been through a lot, and both of us have a very, we're very close. He's my closest sibling, and he requested this, I don't know, maybe like a year or so ago. Yeah, we're finally getting around to it based on the schedule.
I was going to say, Joshua's been a chatter for quite some time.
He has.
He has. So thank you, Joshua.
And he better listen to this, or I'm going to give him some shit.
Oh, God, girl. Okay. All right. Well, I have no idea what you're doing it on, but you asked me to do an intro on fugitives, right?
Yes. We're going to be talking about a very infamous fugitive today.
Okay. Well, I got some information on fugitives.
Excellent.
So let's get started. All right. So the word fugitive has roots tracing back to the Roman Empire. Specifically, the word is Latin. The term is used extensively in various forms around the 6th century BC until the medieval period. The concept and term are well over 2,000 years old.
Oh, okay.
Having been part of the English language since the arrival of the Latin-based terms, roughly from the 11th century. So we've only used it from the 11th century, but it's been around for...
That's it?
That's it. English-speaking people. But yeah. So the word fugitive means fleeting or transient. Now, it refers to someone who is fleeing from something, particularly the law or an owner, in the case of escaped slaves in ancient times. Over the centuries, the term evolved to mean someone who is running away from or trying to evade capture. Now, today, a fugitive is defined as a person who escapes from custody or avoids arrest. This can include escaping from jail, running away after committing a crime, or avoiding court appearances, or even jumping states. Now, in the United States, the issue of fugitives is complicated by the federal government. While all states cooperate under the U.S. Constitution's full faith and credit clause, which requires states to honor the public acts and records and also all judicial proceedings of each other state. Some states differ and do not agree with other states, therefore halting the process of extradition.
Well, I was going to say that's issues with even intrastate extradition processes. Yeah.
It's always drama. So now, for instance, extradition between states can sometimes become contentious. Federal law mandates that a state must surrender an individual charged with a crime to the state from which they fled. Now, governors are the kind of the public office that can get in the way. Governors can sometimes fight or delay the orders based on a legal or political disagreement. A notable example of a governor who resisted an extradition request is Governor Christie Gregoire.
Let's give the little French-Canadian spin. Gregoire.
Okay, Gregoire. She is from Washington, and in 2011, she initially refused to allow the extradition of John Mohammed, one of the DC snipers, back to Virginia to face trial. Like, why would you do that?
We just talked about that. We're going to cover that probably in season 4, so stay tuned.
are? Okay.
Yes.
Good. Okay. So Gregoire's hesitation stemmed from the concerns about Virginia's use of the death penalty. After some legal and political discussions, the governor did eventually agree to the extradition, and Mohammed was sent to Virginia. He was tried, convicted, and ultimately executed in 2009. So, hey, yes. Christine, like, why? This was all, like, if you really didn't believe in the death penalty, he should have never arrived in Virginia. So, obviously, there was a political gain there. Like,
yes, absolutely.
Back it up.
Yeah.
Back it up, B. I see you. I know. So, anyway.
Well, we're going to talk a little bit about the death penalty in our case today, too. Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. So, well, that was the United States. Internationally, different countries have different laws about who can be considered a fugitive. For example, if a fugitive flees from Canada, to Italy, the process of extradition depends on the treaties between those two countries. Some countries will refuse the extradition if the punishment in the requesting country seems too severe. Here are 3 high-profile United States extradition cases and 2 international ones, okay?
Okay.
The first one is James Joseph Whitey Bulger. So this is the notorious mob boss. He fled Massachusetts in 1994 ahead of his impending arrest of racketeering charges. Bulger was on the run for nearly 16 years, during which he was found to be one of America's most wanted fugitives.
Yes.
He was finally captured in Santa Monica, California in 2011. He was extradited back to Massachusetts, where he faced numerous charges, including involvement in 19 murders.
Good.
We should cover him.
Noted.
Why not? All right. So, next one. Andrew Luster. Andrew Luster, the heir to the Max Factor Cosmetics fortune. Hello, Prima Cosmetics.
Oh,
hello.
Note that for next season. Got it.
This would be a big one. Oh my God. Okay. So he was convicted in absentia in 2003 of multiple sexual assaults using date rape drug GHB.
Yes. So he was convicted even though he wasn't there. So in absentia.
Oh, okay. Oh, is that what that means? Okay, I thought it was a place.
Yep.
I'm thinking it's a place. I'm like,
no, he wasn't in place to get convicted, but he was convicted anyway.
Oh, so he wasn't present for his. Okay, all right, got it.
Yeah.
So now he fled to Mexico during his trial. Then Dwayne Dog Chapman, who is the bounty hunter, you know that guy.
Yes.
Dog, the bounty hunter.
Oh my God, I used to watch it all the time.
He caught wind of this case, and this is what made him famous. He went to Mexico, got a hold of him, and dragged him back to the United States.
On this case?
On this case, and Andrew Luster is now serving 124 years in prison.
Oh.
Dog the Bounty Hunter. This is his claim to fame. So this is definitely Crime of Cosmetics.
Yes, noted.
All right.
Season 4. Got it.
So next one is Ted Kaczynski, which is the Unabomber.
Girl.
Kaczynski.
Ted Kaczynski.
Kaczynski?
Ted Kaczynski. Yes.
Ted.
We talked about covering the Unabomber.
Kowinski. Unabomber. Nailed it. Okay, so he was arrested in Montana in 1996 after a nationwide manhunt and a series of bombings that spans nearly 2 decades. Following his capture, he was extradited to California, where he stood trial for his crimes.
So in the class that I teach, we actually use his case as one of the things which eventually created the Department of Homeland Security. So talking about an introduction into Homeland Security and counterterrorism measures as class I teach, or one of the classes I teach. So we use actually the Unabomber as Unabomber.
Ted Kowinski.
Ted Kowinski Unabomber.
See, now it's like ear face. Now you can't unhear it. You can't unsee it.
Exactly.
Ted
Your face.
Ted Kowinky Dinky Sing.
Oh my God.
All right, so let's get into the 2 international extradition cases. So the first one I have here is Julian Assange. Oh my God.
Yes.
He is the founder of WikiLeaks and has been embroiled in a high-profile legal battles involving multiple countries. After releasing classified documents through WikiLeaks, Assange faced allegations of potential charges in the United States and in Sweden. In 2012, to avoid extradition to Sweden over sexual assault charges, Assange took refuge in an Ecuadorian embassy in London, where he claimed political asylum. After 7 years, he was arrested in 2019 when Ecuador withdrew their asylum residents, and he remains in the UK fighting now his extradition to the United States. Now, no offense, but like, look, you could be a bad person on everything you do is bad. Like, so there could be good aspects to you and there could be bad aspects to you, but like, 1, sexual assault, really? Come on.
Yeah.
And then 2, like, have you ever seen a documentary on him? Like, you're kind of like, understand his plight, but then you're like, ooh, you son of a bitch. Like, he's like the Snowden case. Like,
well, he was part of Snowden.
Yes.
Wasn't he?
Snowden
Alexa, does the UK have extradition to the US? Sorry, I don't know that one. Whatever.
To ask her about Ted Kowinski, the Unabomber. See if she knows. Okay.
Alexa, who is Ted Kowinski?
Theodore John Kaczynski, also known as the Unabomber, was an American mathematician and domestic terrorist.
She got it.
She got it right?
She did. She understood my whatever.
Okay, so the last one is the one that just turns my freaking stomach. Roman Polanski. Now, Roman Polanski, film director, has been a fugitive from the United States since 1978.
Oh!
When he fled the country after pleading guilty to unlawful sexual intercourse with a minor. Polanski, who's a citizenship of France and Polish.
Yeah,
okay,
dual citizenship, yeah.
Wait a minute. So dual is when a Canadian has United States citizenship because it's a connecting country. But if you don't have a connecting border, is that dual?
Yeah, absolutely.
It is?
Yeah. You can actually have for instance, my younger son was born in the UK. He could have been given the opportunity to have dual citizenship until his 18th birthday. If he was born in a UK hospital, which he almost was because he decided he wanted to make an early appearance, but he did end up being born on the federal installation, which made him just US only. But if he was born, and I spent like 2 weeks at a local hospital, if he was born in a UK hospital, he would have been given dual citizenship until his 18th birthday when he was basically told to pick which one he wants.
Oh, okay.
So he does have a national healthcare number, and he can always get free healthcare from the United Kingdom for the rest of his life.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So I didn't know that.
It depends on I guess you could say the treaty, or it depends on the agreements between the countries.
Okay.
Sometimes they make you pick if you're an adolescent or if you're underage, they make you pick by the time you're 18. Other countries, you can have dual citizenship. Yeah.
All right.
It depends.
I was told that it would have to be a neighboring country, and that I was told by a Canadian. Maybe they were full of crap. Okay, so anyway, he lived in France during this entire time. Now, although the United States has repeatedly requested his extradition, France did not believe in extraditing its citizens. It didn't have a treaty like that where it I don't know about that. Polanski has avoided traveling to countries that were likely to extradite him. Sneaky little bastard. Till today, we're still facing this legal battle with this case. Now, this is one of those moments where you admire the person's work, but he's a bad person. So, like,
he's a child rapist.
He's a rapist. Yeah.
Yeah.
And not only is he's a rapist, but like in his documentary, like the scene or the movie that he had this 13-year-old in this like sexual scene. Not that they had sex. Although I want to say that he did film an underage person having sex in one of his movies.
Yeah.
This is the woman that he eventually assaulted.
Didn't he direct Rosemary's Baby?
Yes. So
and he was also married to Shannon Tate, who was murdered by the Manson clan. Okay.
Way too many connections with way too many bad things. So yeah. He's got great movies. So he did Rosemary's Baby. He did The Ninth Gate, which is an amazing movie. He was the pianist. He did The Tenant. He's a very talented person. I mean, that's not the point. He did a movie about Oliver Twist. Rush Hour.
The Jackie Chan Rush Hour?
Yeah. Huh. I'm looking through his whole line of movies, and he's been active. And also, what bothers me about this entire thing is that the assault that took place happened in the home of Jack Nicholson.
Really? Oh, yes. Jackie boy.
He's like, mum's the word. I didn't see a thing. During that time, Jack Nicholson was dating Angelica Houston. She reported and said, I walked in when it was happening. I remember it. I can testify.
I love Angelica Houston.
Me too. I love her too.
Yeah.
Do you know nothing came of her testimony?
I'm not surprised.
So there's something up with Roman Polanski. I don't know if it's his lineage. I don't know if it's his name. I don't know what it is, but there's something really shady about that man. Like, I don't care how fucking talented you are. I really don't give a shit. If you're an evil person, you're an evil dude. If you could do that to a child, you know. Where's Ted Kowinski when we need him? Ted Kowinski!
Kowinski.
Send him a package.
For it. She wanted it.
Ick. Okay.
I'm not serious, chatters.
Roman Polanski is icky.
Yeah.
Not saying he's not talented, but he's icky. Okay, so, well, these cases demonstrate how international extradition can be influenced by multiple factors, including legal treaties, citizenship status, and political considerations, making them complex and often prolonged disputes between countries. And that's basically what I got for Fugitives. So I hope that's a good opening.
Absolutely. We're not really going to go international. Okay. But if you don't know, now you know. We're going to be talking about a fugitive from justice today. One of the most notorious criminals to ever be on the run. 1, he murdered a 14-year-old girl. 2, he was arrested, tried, and convicted. 3, he was sentenced to death and later commuted to life in prison. 4, he escaped from prison.
Wait a minute. That's a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Lester Eubanks has been on the run since 1973 and is the subject of one of the nation's most intense manhunts. More than 50 years later, is it even possible that the now 80-year-old fugitive is still alive? So who is Lester Eubanks and what the fuck happened? Lester William Eubanks was born on Halloween, October 31st, 1943, and lived in Mansfield, Ohio. There was not much known about his early life, surprise, surprise, but what's important to know is by 1965, he was a serial sexual offender. He was arrested twice for sex crimes and then was out on bond from a rape charge when he attacked, kidnapped, attempted to rape, and killed 14-year-old Mary Ellen Diener. Mary Ellen Diener, she was a typical teenager. She was a member of her middle school glee club, loved to roller skate, and harbored dreams of becoming a nun. Her sister, Myrtle Carter, has very fond memories of Mary Ellen. Quote, she was just always giggling, you know, a little girl. She always giggling and always having fun, end quote. On the day of her kidnapping and murder, Mary Ellen was with her sister at the half-hour laundromat in Columbus, Ohio, which was actually near their grandmother's home. And the grandmother's going to come to play here in a second. But the girls ran out of money to put into the washer and dryer machines. And Mary Ellen left alone to go find more change from a different but nearby laundromat. She never would have imagined that a monster was waiting. Lester Eubanks watched Mary Ellen, grabbed her, took her behind a vacant house. He lifted up her skirt, pulled down her underwear, and attempted to rape her. But Mary Ellen fought back. When she resisted, Eubanks pulled out a .38 revolver and shot Mary Ellen twice in the stomach.
Oh my God.
He left her for dead. He went back to his home, cleaned, dressed himself. He came back to the crime scene 20 minutes later and saw that Mary Ellen was still alive. She was breathing. So he picked up a brick and smashed her head, killing her instantly.
Oh my God.
Police found her body 2 hours later, just like really close to the time that she was killed. She had coins from the laundromat scattered everywhere, and including her hands. Her grandmother went looking for her when she didn't come home, and she was the one that actually found her body. She later identified her that same night, but the brutal assault and murder of Mary Ellen Diener shook the town of Mansfield, Ohio. The next morning, Eubanks went to church, enjoyed a leisurely breakfast with his pastor, as one does. Residents were relieved when police delivered swift justice, arresting the troubled Lester Eubanks, who was 22 years old at the time, for the crime the very next day. So the next day came, and he was arrested.
Oh.
Police showed up at his house, took him in. He confessed and was charged with first-degree murder and perpetrating rape, essentially attempting to rape. Police gathered persuasive physical evidence, including footprints at the scene and the gun that he used in the crime. Eubanks went on trial in 1966, where he testified to his actions on the stand. He actually testified in his own defense. So, I don't know. His defense attorneys were probably like, screw it. What else do you have to lose? I don't know. In May of 1966, Eubanks was not only convicted, he was sentenced to death. He was on death row at the Ohio State Penitentiary in Columbus. As a death row inmate, Eubanks was facing electrocution in a chair that had the nickname Old Sparky. Mary Ellen's sister Myrtle, who still lives in Mansfield, by the way, remembered the trial very vividly. She said, quote, "It was like watching a movie, our movie. It happened that night, and by the next afternoon, he was caught. 6 months later, he was the trial, the sentence, and then he was gone," end quote.
Wow.
Eubanks was only 3 days from being executed when the sentence was commuted to life in prison without the possibility of parole in 1972. This is when Ohio abolished the death penalty in response to the Supreme Court claim that the death penalty was unconstitutional. We talked about that in several cases before.
Yeah.
By the time his sentence was commuted, Eubanks was given letters of recommendation by prison guards to join the Honor Inmate Program. Basically, that the inmates were able to go outside of the prison. Eubanks spent his time in prison painting and received some awards for his work. Then a series of events broke in Eubanks' favor. Dale Fortney, a former police officer in Mansfield, Ohio, said what happened next was ridiculous. Get ready for this. Lester went from death row to commuted to a life sentence, and then a year or two later, he's such an honor prisoner that he can be taken unescorted, left in a mall to go Christmas shopping. I think normal people can't comprehend that this could actually happen.
No, that's bad. That's not even that long ago. My God.
And that's what Fortney, the former police officer, said.
Wow.
Now, Eubanks, as part of the Honor Inmate Program that he was a part of, was given temporary furlough to go outside to do Christmas shopping on December 7th, 1973. He and 3 other inmates were brought to the Great Southern Shopping Mall in South Columbus, where he was given the opportunity to roam the mall unescorted. With the only stipulation to arrive back to the officers at the appropriate time. He was dropped off at the mall around 10 a.m., and upon entering the mall, all the inmates split up. Then around 2 p.m., the Ohio Department of Corrections security team went to get him. They just found that he was nowhere to be seen. Investigators said that he was picked up by a close associate who drove him to Detroit, Michigan, where he lived for about 2 weeks and then got on a bus. He was almost caught when the bus was stopped at an interstate line by officers looking to see if there were any illegal substances that were being trafficked on that bus.
Mm-hmm.
The escape was a reckoning for the Ohio prison system, which had tried to institute reforms that would be able to rehabilitate inmates.
Mm-hmm.
But in the process, they were seeing dangerous convicts get free with this rehabilitation program. They tried, right? Especially the Supreme Court comes down and says, the death penalty is unconstitutional. Okay, well, let's try to reform and put them back and make them civil servants of the society and contribute to society. Yeah, apparently it just kind of turned around and shot him in the face. But this wasn't any penitentiary. No. At the time, Ohio had a reputation for menacing prison complexes, cold places known for violence and cruelty. Mm-hmm. One prison in the state, the Ohio State Reformatory, even became the set for the movie The Shawshank Redemption.
Love that movie.
Which in the story, it takes place in Maine, but it was actually filmed in Ohio.
Wow.
Now, for Deputy U.S. Marshal David Seiler, who is now leading the manhunt for Eubanks, understanding even 50 years later, he said, quote, he had a plan. So Lester Eubanks was on the run. If someone helped Eubanks get away, who was it? Police explored the question as they first tracked his path from Ohio to Michigan and then to California, with much of the early suspicion centering on the fugitive's father, a bricklayer and minister from Mansfield named Mose Eubanks. Those who knew Mose said that he was always tormented by his son's imprisonment. Questions about what Eubanks' family members may know have only grown as several of his siblings refused to cooperate with U.S. Marshals, as later efforts were accelerated to actually track him down. U.S. Marshal Peter Elliott, who heads the Northern District of Ohio, says with handling the manhunt, quote, blood is thicker than water. There's someone in the family that knows where he is, end quote.
Yeah.
Agreed. Now, retired Mansfield police detective David Messmore also said, quote, I know there's people in town somewhere that probably know something. They may have heard something that would be of some help in locating him, but they're either afraid to or they refuse to, end quote. One member of the Eubanks family, the stepson of Lester's brother, Clarence Eubanks, told ABC News that he saw no point to a manhunt now when so much time has passed since the 1973 escape. He said, quote, I just wanted to let you know that I wouldn't bother calling my dad because he ain't gonna give you shit, end quote. So by the mid-1970s, Lester Eubanks started a new life with a new identity. In California, where Lester Eubanks was last spotted, law enforcement began focusing on a unique interest of his, painting. If you remember, he was a great painter when he was in prison, and he was standout for his portraits and oil paintings. Eubanks, actually in California, he lived with a woman named Kay Banks. Eubanks and Banks, I love it. This is in Los Angeles, but he lived under the name of Victor Young. This is the name that he used to actually sign his paintings in California. At various times, he lived in Los Angeles neighborhoods of Gardenia, North Hollywood, Long Beach, and South Los Angeles. Holding down a series of menial jobs in the Los Angeles area, he used a fishing license for identification and began to thrive on his new life. All of it below the radar of law enforcement. In the 1980s, he worked at a waterbed manufacturing factory in Gardenia. The woman who ran the factory, Joy Springer, told investigators that Eubank was hired in the beginning of the waterbed era. You remember waterbeds?
Yes.
I always wanted one.
Really? They were so weird. Oh my God. Like you sit, I don't know. I've never been a water person, so I don't know.
I always wanted one.
Yeah.
I want to say my mom had one at some point, but anyway, yeah. So she knew him as Victor Young and described him as someone who worked hard, kept quiet, and rode a 10-speed bike to work. She sometimes would offer him a ride, but never all the way home. Like, if he were to take it, she would never take him to, where he actually lived. The FBI's Los Angeles field office apparently had so many criminal cases to chase, and there were very few tips coming in on Lester Eubanks, and they actually labeled this case as pending and active at this time. But that effort changed in the 1990s. when the hunt for Eubanks was reignited when it was discovered that the fugitive's information had never been entered into the national crime databases used to track wanted felons, which explained why he was able to live for like 2 decades without getting caught. And this was a transition period too. So like being able to go back and track everybody and then update them and put them in the federal system or national system, that would have done some work. So they realized that, okay, shit, he wasn't in there. We got to catch him. Now, police in Mansfield, Ohio began pushing the case very hard. And with some help from the media, they started to get some tips. In 1994, Eubanks was the subject of an episode of America's Most Wanted. And Los Angeles received thousands of tips. After watching the show, Kay Banks, Banks and Eubanks, she gave the police a tip that she had been living with him for years. She was brought in, she was questioned, and said that he moved out a few years prior. Now, she said Eubanks was a bully, so she told him that someone was looking into him, and he fled. He, got spooked, and he left.
Oh, okay.
Eubanks lived in Alabama at some point before 2003. He worked as a janitor at a center for troubled youth.
No, in 2003, the fact that he was able to work with children is just disturbing to me.
I mean, he's going under a pseudonym.
But still, 2003, I don't think we really were fingerprinting volunteers or that really is just recent. That's very recent. No, it is very recent.
Funny story. I lived in Alabama in 2003.
Did you?
I did.
How was it? Was it good?
Maybe he worked for the same church.
You would your kitty cat senses would have been up, and you would have known who he was, and you would have kicked his butt, cat scratch. Okay,
I mean, it's possible he was in the Montgomery area, but he lived there at some point before 2003.
Well, you're lucky. You're lucky to run into Cat. You've been in big trouble.
It was before I became a police officer, so. So a portrait would emerge of him and his new life in his new home. And some said that he became a father figure to teenagers. One teen, who was now in his 50s, said that he came to see Eubanks as a mentor and fully believed that Eubanks would never get caught. Also in 2003, investigators talked to his father, Mose Eubanks, in Ohio. He refused to talk about his son. He took phone calls from Lester and likely knew about his whereabouts. If anything at all, Lester was very close to his family. He went back to Ohio in 2003, 2010, and 2012 to attend funerals for family members. His father, Mose, died in 2012. When the U.S. Marshals reignited the manhunt for Lester Eubanks in 2017, one place they focused their energy on was something that wasn't available to them when he murdered Mary Ellen. DNA. There was an old box of evidence filled with items collected in the vacant lot where Eubanks had murdered the 14-year-old Mary Ellen in 1965. The revolver used in the murder, a plaster cast of Eubanks' boot print from the scene, his clothes, and the brick that he used to crush Mary Ellen's head. Don Fryback, a forensic scientist for the Mansfield, Ohio Police Department, said, quote, "If we're able to generate Lester's DNA profile, then we'll be able to put it into the databases and see if it hits any other samples from multiple crimes across the country." End quote. Now, on December 7, 2018, the 45th anniversary of his escape, Lester Eubanks was added to the U.S. Marshals' Most Wanted list with a $25,000 reward being offered for any information leading to his arrest and capture. And that is what is behind me is the Most Wanted CrimeChat poster of Lester Eubanks. There's a little CrimeChat in there. He may still be using the same name, Victor Young, but still, he has some of the same qualities. He loves music, he loves martial arts, and he loves art.
Okay.
Deputy U.S. Marshal Seiler told the Rolling Stone magazine in 2019, quote, "All we need is that one tipster, that one person that can bring in the last piece of the puzzle, even if they knew him a year ago, 2 years ago. That's what we're looking for. Someone who's like, I know that guy."
Right.
End quote. Seiler also said, quote, "Someone told me you don't know where he is and you're never going to find him. That tells me one of two things. One, he has contact with that person, and two, he's alive.
Yeah.
This is just a game to him." End quote. While forensic investigators hoped for a DNA match, the man in charge of Eubanks' manhunt continued to search for new human source. Deputy Marshal Seiler tracked down one possible lead, a man who spent more than a decade as a caretaker for Eubanks' father, Mose Eubanks. He was at a federal prison in rural Pennsylvania. This new contact had the potential to shed light on the role Eubanks' father may have played in assisting his son's flight and bring investigators within just a few years of the last time Eubanks was actually spotted alive. Deputy Marshal Seiler's supervisor, Peter Elliott, the U.S. Marshal for Northern Ohio, said he is 100% confident the department will track Eubanks down. With new leads and his tips pouring in, they urged the public to look out for Eubanks, understanding that he may be going by a different name and that he may have blended into the community in unsuspecting ways. After all, he was a model prisoner. Everybody loved him. Elliot said, quote, "Look for those little things that may cause you to be a little skeptical about the person right next to you," end quote. Also in 2019, a man came forward with a claim that his late mother had been raped by Eubanks and he was the biological son of said rape. He was willing to provide his DNA to help with the search. However, police policies prohibit using a relative's DNA in their DNA databases. So it has to be like the actual person's DNA. It can't be a relative, which is dumb, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Whatever. Okay. Maybe it's changed since 2019. It has been 5 years. Now, forensic scientist Don Frybeck speculated such an effort by one of Lester's descendants could prove fruitful. With her deep experience in genetics and crime analysis, she took on the task of looking for genetic material at the request of the marshals. She swabbed Eubanks' boots and hat brim for dried sweat and prepared it for the potential comparison of the man who came forward. Frybeck said, quote, "If Lester moved on with his life, maybe he has other children in other states. Maybe they're looking for their father, so they're using these types of websites to try and locate their father who they don't know. So we might end up getting a match that way," end quote. We've talked about genetic genealogy before and how fascinating that is. But they can use these public sites as long as there's, I guess, a warrant probably is involved and that kind of thing. So later that same year, in 2019, an ABC News podcast called Have You Seen This Man? Launched first episode on October 23rd. It is a 6-episode series that follows the U.S. Marshals' ongoing mission to find Lester Eubanks. Then, October 19th, 2020, Unsolved Mysteries aired an episode on Eubanks, Season 2, Episode 3, called Death Row Fugitive. In an interview with Bustle Magazine, Unsolved Mysteries co-creator Terry Dunn Maurer said that the show received nearly 400 tips within only a few days of airing this episode. Many of those were about Eubank, and the impact was extremely felt. The U.S. Marshals raised the reward from $25,000 to $50,000. And in a separate statement, they said that they believe they are getting closer to catching him. As the manhunt continued, the family of the Eubanks young victim received an unexpected outpouring from the Mansfield, Ohio community. After discovering Mary Ellen's grave had been, for decades, left unmarked. Crazy. The Mansfield Cemetery organized an effort to place a stone at the site of her burial. Her sister, Myrtle Carter, attended a solemn ceremony to unveil the marker, but it wasn't closure. She said, quote, "As long as her convicted murderer is free, her soul cannot be at rest," end quote. But it is one step closer. On the stone, carved next to an angel, are 3 simple words, "Gone too soon." Myrtle still works with the U.S. Marshals in their pursuit to find Lester Eubanks. Deputy Marshal Seiler said, quote, "She is one of those family members who just doesn't quit. She's on the fight for Mary Ellen," end quote. Seiler and other law enforcement are also on this dedicated fight. He said, quote, "Someone's got to fight for Mary Ellen. Someone's got to fight for someone who couldn't fight for themselves, and that's why we do this," end quote.
Yes.
Now, the hunt is still on for this now 80-year-old, almost 81-year-old fugitive, Lester William Eubanks. According to his wanted poster behind me, he is 5'11", weighs about 175 pounds, And I've also seen his description go anywhere between 5'10" to 6 foot and up to 190 pounds. Of course, he's been missing for so long, his description could change. Mm-hmm. However, there are other unique physical characteristics, such as a mole under his left eye and a large burn scar on his upper right arm. He also may be using the alias Victor Young, as I mentioned, but also Pete Eubanks to hide his true identity. So, chatters, if you think you may know Eubanks, you know where he is, you know someone who may know him or know something, you're urged to report any related information to the U.S. Marshals at 1-877-WANTED-2 or 1-877-926-8332, or go to usmarshals.gov/tips to report the sighting. And that's the story of Lester Eubanks.
You just blew my mind. Oh my God.
He's on the lam. He's on the run for over 50 years. And it's about time he got caught. I don't even know if he's still alive. I mean, it's quite possible he's not. Yeah. But also, I think even not that all 80-year-olds are
shady,
you know, memory losses or like physically decrepit. My 80-something-year-old grandmother is like, is in the best shape of her life.
Yes.
Like, you go, Grandma. Yeah. So I don't know.
Yeah. Wow.
It's possible. But at the same time, somebody who's been on the run for so long, that stress probably only adds to the physical deterioration. And it would surprise me if he actually was still alive. However, marshals do believe that he is still alive in somewhere. Alabama, Ohio, California, Michigan. If you've seen him, chatters, you know somebody, report.
Yeah.
Please.
That's crazy. And but they do have DNA, but they can't run it because it's from his ancestor, possibly, maybe his son, possible son.
They may have run it by now, but I don't know. I wasn't able to find any resolution to that. It's possible, Joshua, you may know.
Oh my God, now I'm not going to be able to, now I have to lock my doors at night because things like this freak me out that they're out there. So,
why would he want to go to Florida?
Thank you, Joshua. I am in Florida. Oh no, why would he want to go to Florida?
Why would Lester Eubanks want to go to Florida?
Okay, look, Florida's not great, but come on, it's better than Ohio. Come on. So a lot of Ohio people come here for a reason.
So that's the story of Lester Eubanks, and we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Wow.
I hope that either he's caught or we find out that he's dead, because that would give some sort of, you know, closure to the family. Her sister Myrtle, who's, you know, for the last 50-some years, she was the one that was at the laundromat with Mary Ellen.
Yeah.
And was like, you know, you're the younger sister. Go get some more change. We're out of change for the washer and dryer. Like, I can only imagine the blame that she probably feels.
Yeah. That's terrible.
But at the same time, just because you see a pretty 14-year-old walking down the street, that is not an invitation to say, hey, I'm going to rape you.
Right.
Yeah. No. So, anyway, that's my story.
Oh, my God. Thank you for giving me my nightmare for tonight. Thank you. Thank you, Kat. Thank you, Joshua. Thank you. Oh, my God. That was good. That was good because, you know what? Not all crimes are solved. And we occasionally have these that are just a mystery.
It's called job security for law enforcement.
Yeah. How he escaped initially is beyond me, but...
It was the 70s, man. It was the 70s. There was this whole new reform. And, like, let's, you know, make them contributing members to society. Let's reform them. It was the 70s. It's fine.
Yeah. Nope. No. Nope.
Ridiculous. No. That's what the one officer said. It was ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, oh God, that's terrible, my Lord. Especially with murder. Like, I don't know if I don't think reform should be the first 5 conversations you have after murder. I think that should be like the last, maybe after a couple of years.
I don't know. I mean, he confessed. He was convicted. But, I mean, like Deputy Marshal Seiler mentioned, he had a plan. He had a plan from the beginning. He intentionally became the perfect inmate to be able to get these privileges, and he had a plan the whole fucking time.
And that is freaky on a different level. That you as a mom, you're going to the mall one day to go Christmas shopping with your daughter or son or whatever.
Malls don't exist anymore.
Well, in the 70s they did.
I know.
You know, like I was never a mall rat, but like I would go with my friends occasionally if I was bored on the weekends. They were kids, unsupervised kids that were just hanging out, you know, like, and then you have somebody who is a convicted murderer just like, what the fuck? Like just walking around the mall? Like, no. No, that's...
I worked in the mall as a teenager.
So, you know what? I did too.
In the 90s.
Where did you work?
I worked at a place called County Seat, which was like the Gap, but not the Gap. It was called County Seat, and so we carried a lot of Levi's, but then also like County Seat brand clothing, I guess. Levi's were always huge.
Oh yeah, Levi's are great. Even today, they're good.
Yeah,
I worked at the Body Shop.
Oh, the Body Shop.
Remember that? I don't even think they exist anymore.
Well, County Seat doesn't exist anymore.
And just so you know, like, I know all the back end of the Body Shop and what they did.
Yeah.
So, like, all those creams and all those things that you got, right?
Mm-hmm.
We would be adding that stuff in the back. Yeah, the scents, like the creams and the scents, the whatever filler that they... So
you did it back there?
Everything...
Oh my
Everything came in, like, it would be like a signature bottle for, like, let's say, like, vanilla. Like, you loved the scent vanilla. You wanted the lotion, you wanted the body spray, you wanted the room incense, all that stuff. We injected that stuff in the back. It wasn't, and it wasn't even good.
Oh my gosh.
And people would spend $25 for one lotion.
I know.
Oh yeah. It was shady.
One thing that always reminds me of working at County Seat. So, you know how in the holiday season, you hear that you get the music playing. Like, at least non-holiday season, we were able to, like, rotate the cassette tapes.
Right.
Yes, we had cassette
Then you had
tapes.
Mariah Carey on just...
No, well, I don't think Mariah Carey was on it. I think it was
before.
It was before Mariah Carey's, like, infamous song. Like, I'm old, okay? But what I remember, one of the songs that I remember was, of course, Wham!
Yes! Oh my God.
Gave you my heart. And 99 love balloons go by.
That's not a Christmas song, though. That's a great song.
It's not, but it was on the rotation.
Right.
Every time I hear that song or I hear Wham, I'm like, County Seat.
Or Anita Baker, Sweet Love.
Oh my God. I worked there 30 years ago, and I still remember that song.
Yeah, brings back memories.
Selling my Levi's at a limit of 5.
Wait, you can only buy 5 Levi's at a time?
You could only buy 5 at a time because they were, like, super discounted, and German tourists would come in and want to buy, like...
Really?
Because they would take it back to Germany and resell it.
Oh, well.
So that's why there was a limit. Yeah. Anyway.
Those Germans.
Back down memory lane.
Oh my God. Okay. Well, thank you for doing that case. Thank you, Chatter. Thank you, Joshua, for requesting this case. This was good.
I hope we get some conclusion soon.
Yes. Well, because we don't want to leave you hanging, Chatters. For more information on this case, please check out After That Crime Chat. Only available on Patreon.
It is posted. There's numerous pictures to include some of, like, the predicted age pictures, like we did from John List, right? Mm-hmm. There was this age progression pictures that they did. So there's a bunch of that stuff up there. A lot of the case. Poor Mary Ellen. She was adorable.
Aww. Poor baby.
But don't forget to follow us on CrimeChat with Nat and Kat on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, X. See what we got going on.
Remember, Crime Chat with Nat and Kat, when you become a VIP chatter to our Patreon, you'll have access to bonus episodes, behind the scenes, bloopers, and free merch, and check out some merch in the works.
Season 4 is coming, Chatters.
Yes.
We have 2 episodes left in Season 3.
Yes.
That's it.
Yep.
Season 4 will kick off in November. But until then, check out our next episode. It's Natalie's story.
It's gonna be a surprise.
Ooh.
I'm trying to decide. It's a toss up, but I'll let you know. Like when we hit record, I'll let you know.
Of course. And then for our season finale coming out on September 28th, we have a huge surprise. So you don't want to miss it.
Yes. Okay. Well, we'll see you on the next episode.